Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's short commentary. Today will be board number 28 from the top selected 50 brevities in the periodical Xiangqi magazine Qiyi. The article read a series of the top selected brevities, and this is board 28. We've got about 22 more to go before the entire series would end. So this match was played in 1994 in the Chinese National Xiangqi Team Championships, which is one of the premier events that is still held annually today. Red was Xiamen province, Fujian Xiamen's Zhongcheng. Black was Tang Zhuoguang representing Guangdong at the time. Both players are now seldom seen, but this match was quite interesting, and Master Tang Zhuoguang was one of the most feared players back in his heyday in the 1990s. So without further ado, let's start with the central cannon. And both players chose not to develop. Red did not develop the horse by his second move and chose to play p7 plus 1. Now this was part of his strategy so that the opening could be led into something that he had prepared for. And Black played along. Since Red pushed p7 plus 1, Black would do the same and preparing to develop his left horse as a purple horse. So after some moves by the fourth ply, the basic formation is now out. It will be Red's central cannon with the 7-file horse. Notice that Red had deliberately deferred the development of this chariot until now. And because of the deferred development of the chariot, Black chose to play one of the most violent and volatile variations there is for Black's screenhouse defense against Red's central cannon. Now this would later lead to the double pawn rank cannons variation. With c2 plus 4, Black would now be prepared or threatened to attack the pawn on the third file. If Black were able to capture this pawn, the pressure added on Red's right flank would be tremendous. Now, if Black chose to play a less volatile variation opening system, we could have considered e3 plus 5. Now, because Black was prepared to capture the pawn, usually p5 plus 1 is played. Now, there are 3 other variations which I will not go over because it will be too complicated and the video will be too long. So please go to the website, the link is given below, and try to see the variations for yourself. Now since p5 plus 1 was played, Black would give up his central file and choose to attack with the double pawn rank cannons. Now this would be one of the most violent variations that can be seen. Now, it is common for Red to continue with the r9 plus 1 to develop the chariot. And Black would immediately pounce on the chance to threaten to play c2 equals to 3 to threaten the elephant, which would be usually moved. And Black would develop his right chariot. And at this point in time, the opening system would be fully defined. It will be Red central cannon with file and ranked chariots, file chariot, ring chariot, and 7-file horse against Black's double pawn rank cannons. Now, usually r9 equals to 6 is played. r9 equals to 4, whereby the chariot will cross the palace, would not be a good idea. This variation was given in the article. So check, and Black would not dare to capture the cannon, or Black would gain a chariot. And after Black would move the cannon away to prevent capture. Red would link the chariots. Black would retreat. And at this point in time, black can be satisfied with this position. So that is why r9 equals to 4 is not advocated. And black played with r9 equals to 6. And black continued to push his chariot across the river. Another very major variation will be c3 equals to 6, which will not be discussed in this video. At this point in time, red chose to play the p3 plus 1 variation. Another commonly played variation will be r6 plus 6 to attempt the fork, but things will escalate very quickly. For example, this was the variation given. Black will sacrifice the horse and trap the chariot over at this point. Red would now threaten to play c equals to 1, capture central pawn, check. And as can be seen, at this point in time, it will be a very complicated situation. Now, generally speaking, red would have the material advantage, but the positioning of the black pieces would be better, and red would still have to waste or use another 1 or 2 moves just to get this chariot out of the closed position where it is now. Now, at this point in time, red would enjoy an advantage of about 70 odd points. So this is a very slim advantage, most probably due to the first move initiative. So back to the game, p3 plus 1 was played. And black chose to play the c3 equals to 6 of variation. Another commonly played variation would to simply capture the red pawn, and black will still have a playable game, although his chariot and cannon would be trapped on this file. So far so good, everything's been orthodox. And since red played the c3 plus 6 variation equals to 6 variation, black would capture the pawn. Now, we backtrack a little bit. At this point in time, one of the main ideas of this cannon would be to form a skewer with c6 plus 1. So if black moved the advisor, red moved the advisor, black could play c8 equals to 7 to threaten with the spotted cannon checkmate. It was still a very complicated situation. So red, after much consideration, red decided to be proactive with p3 plus 1. Now r6 plus 6 was also studied in the book. Skewer. So after trading material, black would have the material advantage 1, 2, 3, 4 versus red's 1, 2, 3 major pieces. So that is why r6 plus 6 is not a good idea, and it's not so commonly seen nowadays. So p3 plus 1 was played, and black continued as planned with for a skewer with c6 plus 1. So how should red react to this situation? In the match, red chose to play aggressively with h3 plus 4, sacrificing his horse. Now p3 plus 4 would not be a good idea because red would link the chariots, but because the chariots were linked, black would now play c8 equals to 7 to attack the elephant, which has nowhere to go, and it will be a trade of the chariots. Red will be aggressive, and black will capture the elephant. Check. And as can be seen, black will still have the material advantage 1, 2, 3 versus red's 1, 2 major pieces. Red would have would be compensated by a pawn that has crossed the river, but generally speaking, black would have an advantage. So back to the board. Now at this point in time, after red advanced the horse, black played c8 equals to 6 to attack the horse and also to trade chariots. Now this will be a discovered attack. Now What would happen if c3 equals to c6 equals to 3 were played, so whereby black would capture the red horse? It would be a trade of material. Black would target the red cannon again. And red would have an advantage at this point in time because the pawn would now be a very menacing entity. You'll be able to capture this black central pawn and also the elephant. Now, it would c8 equals to 7 was another discussed subvariation. Red would trade chariots. And after a complicated exchange, red would be able to formulate an attack. Now there will be 1, 2, 3, 4 red pieces versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black pieces. But the red attack on the central file would be rather menacing, and black would have to be careful. So c8 equals to 5 was the last subvariation that was discussed. Trade of material. And as can be seen, the black chariot would now be a closed chariot because it would not have any place to move. Even if it played r7 equals to 9, these three intersections would also be protected. So this chariot would be closed and red would have an advantage. So back to the match. Black played c8 equals to 6, to attack the red horse. It'll also be a trade of chariots, which red gladly accepted. And red continued with his plans with h4 plus 5 to capture the black central pawn. And as can be seen at this point in time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Both colors will be relatively equal in material. I ran this position through my computer and it will be a roughly equivalent situation. Red would enjoy a slight advantage of about 60 to 100 points at level 20 and above. Okay, so far so good. And red will capture material, capture the cannon with a 2 plus 1. Now this was a mistake on black's part. Instead, c6 equals to 2 should have been played because the chariot would have been better off patrolling or guarding the pawn rank, the red pawn rank. Now this variation was given in the magazine. Black will immediately go into attack mode and threatening to capture material discover checks for enforcing the black king to the sword rank. So the red house will now escape. Check. Black will try to counter his own. But luckily, in the nick of time, black would be able to retreat his cannon to offer a trade of cannons for both colors. Now, red would be in a dilemma because if he did, the cannon would be ill-placed and his attack on the central file would be resolved. So at this point in time, black would have more material and the overall advantage. So r2 plus 1 was a big mistake, and then there will be repercussions as very soon. So red will continue to attack, hoping to sacrifice the elephant, but again this move was too rushed and would actually make things much worse for red because red had underestimated the potential of attack with the black cannon and chariot. So perhaps this would be a better move whereby the horse will now be actually attacking the cannon, forcing the black cannon away. And after consolidating his or improving his formation, we can see that red would have the advantage at this point in time. Unfortunately, red played chose to play h8 plus h7 plus 6 at this point in time, which would seem to be a natural thing to do. But this will mark the start of Red's demise. Black would capture the elephant. Red will capture the pawn and be prepared to play h7 plus 5 to attack. But black was simply faster with c1 plus 2, forcing the king to the throat rank. And black would now have to waste one move to get his chariot back to the red pawn rank. So that is why a few moves earlier it was said that this was not a good move to capture the break cannon with the r2 plus 1, because black would now have to use up one more move just to move the chariot to a more favorable position. Red continued with an attack by advancing the horse in this manner. Now, one of the ideas would be to develop this horse as a pearl corner horse, and hopefully Red will be able to concoct a strategy or plan to gain onward material. Now, at this point in time, Black played a very brilliant move with h7 plus 9. Now, the main idea behind this move was that if Red chose to deliver a check, which he did, Black will now be able to play h8 plus 6 for defense, because the elephant had now moved away and was not blocking the horse anymore. But unfortunately for Red, Black would now have commanded an advantage of about 350 points at level 20 difficulty. So Red would pounce to attack mercilessly with by advancing his chariot to Black's throat rank. Black could now start his final assault with a check, and this intermediate move was a very important one, because it would have forced the Red King to the cannon rank. More adjustment of the material. Red would choose to sacrifice his horse in return, and Black retreated his chariot. A short change in the formation, and so all of a sudden Black put a shot with c1 equals to 6, and Black resigned. I ran this position through my computer program and found out that Black would now enjoy a very significant advantage of about 1000 odd points. Now, in the hands of a Xiangqi master or grandmaster, this deficit is usually impossible for the weaker color to turn the tables. So now the following moves were generated from my computer program. So let's enjoy it. Red would play k5 minus 1 to try to move his king back to the safety of his palace. But it will now be Black's turn to attack. So at this point in time, we can see that Black would already have 1, 2, 3, 4 versus 1, 2 major pieces for both colors. Black would have significant material advantage. Check. Red would try to prevent the horse from developing, and if he was successful, it would mean the end of Red. Both colors would consolidate their defenses, and Red chose to traverse his cannon to the other flank to try another attack. And as can be seen, Black would enjoy this advantage. Now, these were some of the moves that were given, but because Black had lost material, so we do a short recap. And the Red defense was now scattered and dispersed. Red decided to call it a day, and Master Tang Zhuoguang won the match. So I hope you've enjoyed this very short video, which I think is quite a good example on the opening system and introduction to the opening system. I hope you do go through the variations one by one, and if you like the work that I'm doing, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.